Ever wanted to create this cool and dynamic style of motion graphics just like Niklas Christl? Today, I'm not only going to show you how you can recreate these types of motion graphics, but also how you can make them fully adjustable later on Premiere in a super easy way. So if you want to learn how to do it just like the pros, grab a cup of coffee and your own mouse and let's dive into this tutorial. Hi guys, my name is Tiago, hope you all doing well, and as you've heard, today we are dreading After Effects. But before we jump into it, just a quick disclaimer that I have no knowledge on the techniques that Niklas used. I developed the techniques we are using myself, and it's very likely that my motion graphics will differ from the originals. So if you really want your motion graphics to look as the ones from Niklas, I totally recommend you to check out his own motion graphics pack that he has for sale on his website. I'll link it in the description below. It's a very useful motion graphics pack filled with cool elements that you can use on your videos. But on the other hand, if you don't mind that they differ a little and you want to get your hands into After Effects, well, let's wait no more. Let's open After Effects. Let's create a new project and let's go into Composition, New Composition. Name it Main Comp. Throughout the entire tutorial, please, I'll ask you to name everything as I do right here, because we are going to work with expressions and capitals matter. So, okay, now that we got our composition's name, I'll make mine 4K 25 FPS because it's usually the resolution that I edit my videos on. But if you guys edit in 1080 or if you feel like 4K is too much for your machine, there is no problem in creating a composition in 1080p, okay? So now let's set the duration to 5 seconds. Mine is already done, and let's make the background color black. Now I got the transparency mode on. I'm gonna disable for a minute, and the first thing we'll do is create a text layer. You can click here on the text layer tool or click Command T for Mac users or Control T for Windows users. Let's click and let's type text 1. Okay, and now let's draw a rectangle around our text layer. To do that, you can type Q or reach the rectangle shape tool over here. Let's draw our rectangle and let's drag it to the bottom. Okay, we can toggle the transparency mode on once again, clicking here. Now you can see that we already have our text layer and our shape layer, and if you try to change the text, you'll see that your shape layer won't dynamically resize accordingly, which is precisely what we want it to do. So to do that, let's reach out to the shape layer 1, open it, let's open contents, rectangle 1, rectangle path 1. Now let's hit Option or Alt in the case of Windows users and click the stopwatch next to size. And now you can see that it opens an expression on the right side. If you don't know what expressions are, it's basically programming within After Effects. And also, if you are not familiar with programming, it's not a problem because I actually left the expressions we will use for this tutorial on the description below. So go to the description and copy the first expression in the description. And now let's paste it here in the expressions space. Now once you've pasted your expression right here, you can see that an error showed up right here. And if you don't got an error, just skip this part. But if you did, this error appeared because when we set our variable right here, we got the layer name different from the actual layer name. So we need to make it just like we wrote the name over here. So this needs to match this. Okay, so now it's working. So now you can see that we need to make them align horizontal and vertically. Let's come here, come down, align horizontally, vertically, and also for the shape layer as well, horizontally and vertically. Okay, now if we zoom in a little bit, we can see that we already got the result. But I would like my square to be a little bigger in relation to the text. So we need to raise our padding. Let's come here to the expression and increase the variable named padding. I have a comment saying adjust padding as needed. So I'll make mine 50. Okay, I think it looks nice. You can increase it as much as you like. I like mine like this, so I leave it with 50. Okay, so let's test it once again. Okay, so now we have another problem, which is when we change the text, they both go to different ways. So we need them to stick to the center. To do that, we're going to use another expression. So let's get into shape layer 1. And now let's hit Option for Mac users or Alt for Windows users and click the stopwatch next to position. Now copy the second expression in the description and now place it in your expression. Once again we got their error because the text layer isn't named the same. So now it's corrected, and hopefully when we align all the items on the center once again, it will work just fine. Okay, I think it's working perfectly right now. Nice. Let's make sure our anchor points are on the bottom left corner. To change it, if it's right here or anywhere else, you can come here to this tool and click this symbol, which is the anchor point, and drag it to the bottom left corner for the text, and the same for the shape layer. So once you've done that, I think we got already a pretty nice result over here. So let's select both our layers, right mouse click and pre-compose. Let's name this one just as the text layer, so text layer 1, and okay, done. Now let's reposition it over here, which is the place that we want it to be, like this. Now we already got the text 1, so we need a second line. Technically we could duplicate this pre-composed layer, but I've tested it in different ways, and the best way was always to repeat the whole process. So once you've done this the first time, it shouldn't be as difficult in the second time. So let's do it in a fast forward. Okay, now we got our lower text line. If you got any trouble, just repeat the process from the first line of text. Remember to check the layer's name on the expression side. They need to match perfectly. And in my case, for the second line of text, it's actually your text 2 all capitals. You can check it right here. Okay, your text 2 all capitals. And if you got any errors that I haven't mentioned it, please leave it on the comments. I will try to see if I can help you. Okay, so now we've got both our lines of text. We'll need to create a box for logos. So to do that, let's once again reach the rectangle tool and let's draw a rectangle. But this time let's hold down the shift like this. What this does is basically matching all the sides so that it becomes a square. So once you've drawn the square, you must have a result that looks kind of like this. So now let's hit right mouse button, pre-compose, and let's call this one logo box. Okay, done. Now in your logo box, let's create a text layer. Once again, you can come here or Command T, and let's type place, enter your, enter logo right here. Okay, let's make it align to the center. Once again, okay, I think it looks good like this. And now let's select the text layer and pre-compose. Actually, let's make it all capitals. Place your logo here. So once you finish, it should look something like this around here and something like this around here. And now let's go back to our main comp and reposition our square box right here once again, and let's drag our anchor point with this tool to the bottom left corner like this, and do the same for all the other layers like this. Nice. Now we want to be able to adjust the color of all the layers at the same time. To do that, let's right mouse click, new null object. Let's rename our null object to controller, and let's add an effect named color control. Once you've done that, what we want to do is to link our shape layers, in case of both of these ones, and our text layer right here to the color control. To do that, let's reach out to the text one pre-composed layer first. Let's go to the shape layer 1, contents, rectangle, fill 1, and you can see that there's a color space right here which changes the color of the shape. So let's hit Option for Mac users or Alt for Windows users, and left mouse click on the stopwatch next to color. It opens an expression, and we are going to copy the third expression in the description and paste it right here. Please make sure that in comp this name matches your main comp's name, and please make sure that the layer's name is also matching your null object name. It should work just fine without any errors. Okay, so now you can already see that your color changed to the same color as your controller. Now let's do the same for the logo box. Let's go to the pre-composed layer, shape layer 1, contents rectangle, fill 1, Option or Alt, left mouse click, and paste it. Okay, you can see that it already changed. It's looking pretty nice so far. And now let's change the text on the second line of text. So let's reach out to the pre-composed layer, your text 2, and to change the font's color, let's add a fill effect. Generate fill to your text layer. Let's go to the effects, fill, and Option or Alt, left mouse click on the stopwatch next to color, and let's paste the same expression right here. Okay, so as you can see, it's already changing colors. So as you can see, it's already changing colors. Now we just need to change the color of our font for these two layers. You can also make this adjustable as well if you like. You already know how it works, but for this tutorial we'll leave it like this. So now if you go to your controller and you change the color on the color control, you can see that it's already changing all the colors at the same time. So once you've reached this point, I think we already got some pretty solid results. Now we will need to animate our layers. To do that, let's first enable the motion blur right here for the 3 layers. And now let's go over to effects, search for transform right here and distort, and let's drag a transform effect to all the 3 layers. Now let's go over to effects. Please pay attention that you already got the default transform right here. We don't want to change that. We want to change the one that's underneath effects. And to minimize error, let's select it and rename it to in space out animation. Copy this and do the same for all the other layers. Effects, transform, rename, paste, done. Effects, transform, rename, done. Okay, so once you've done that, let's go to our logo box first and let's go to our in-out animation and let's grab our playhead over here and move it a few frames forward and hit the stopwatch next to position. Now let's drag our playhead back to the beginning of the timeline, and now let's change the position values so that it goes out of the frame. I'll also move it up a little bit, and if you hit play, you can see that you already got an animation where it goes from the out towards the initial position where we want it to be. So we want it to kind of make a zigzag effect. So once it is here, let's move it over here and a little bit down. Let's place it right here. Let's move it once again here and maybe a little bit up, and let's play it back. Okay, it's already looking pretty nice, but it's kind of slow. So let's get our keyframes together to make it faster. Okay, I think it looks pretty nice right here. Okay, you can adjust it as you like, just make sure that it looks almost identical. Okay, so now let's select all our keyframes. With the mouse upon one of them, let's click right mouse click, keyframe assistant, easy ease. Nice. Select our keyframes once again and let's paste them near the end of our timeline like this. And now with all the layers still selected and the mouse upon one of the keyframes, let's mouse click, keyframe assistant, time reverse keyframes. Okay, so now let's drag it so that the last keyframe matches the end of the timeline like this. Okay, so now when we play it back, we should have an in animation and also a out animation. Okay, so now let's do the same for the other 2 layers. I'll make it individually because if you watch Niklas effect, they all kinda stay in place in different timings. So I want it to be the logo layer and only then the first text line. Okay, we already got our in and our out animation, so now you can see they are very static, and in Niklas ones they kind of wiggle around. So let's add a wiggle effect. To do that, let's once again drag our transform to every one of the 3 layers. And let's rename the transform. Once again, I want you to change the transform that's underneath effects and not the default one. So let's change this one, and to not make any mistake, let's also rename it to wiggle effect. Let's copy the name and let's do the same for all the other ones. Remember, it's the transform within the effects tab and not the default one. Okay, so to add a wiggle effect, what we are going to do is go over to our wiggle effect and hit Option or Alt in the case of Windows users, and click the stopwatch next to the position on our wiggle effect. And let's type down wiggle and open parentheses. Now let's type 1,20. Basically what this does is adding a wiggle effect to your layer. You can adjust these parameters to your liking. Know that the first parameter refers to the speed of the movement, while the second parameter refers to the space in which they move around. So this is obviously too fast. I'll make the first parameter of the speed 1 and the second one, I think it's good with 20. I think it looks pretty nice like this. So remember, the first parameter speed and the second parameter refers to the area in which they move around. So let's actually copy this one and let's paste it to all the other layers. Effects, wiggle effect, Option or Alt, stopwatch next to the position, and let's paste the wiggle. And let's do the same for this one as well. Okay, so now let's preview. They are touching each other and we don't want that. So let's decrease the amount right here. Let's make it 10 instead of 20 and let's see how it goes. They still touch a little bit, so I'll probably make it 8. Okay, I think it's looking pretty nice right now. Cool, it's looking pretty nice so far, and we are almost at the end of our tutorial. The only thing missing is the sound design, and turn this into something that you can adjust in an easy way on Premiere. So if you are still holding on to this tutorial, I want to thank you so much for being here. It really means a lot. And also, if you find value in my content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel because, well, that will be very much appreciated. Okay, so now let's begin with the sound design, which is basically adding sound effects to your elements to emphasize their movement and actually making it look pretty cool. Now, sound design is a very important step that it's very often overlooked and that, in my opinion, adds a lot more depth to your motion graphics. So let's not miss this step. You can find sound effects all over the internet, but if you are doing work or if you are a content creator, I recommend you to go to a copyright-free platform so that you don't get any copyright infringement. You can find them for free on pixabay.com, free sounds. And also, if you go to Motion Array and create a free account, you can actually get a few of them for free. So that's what I've done, and I will link it down below so you can download the same, but feel free to download any others to your liking. Okay, so once you've downloaded the sound effects, go to the folder where you saved them and select one of them. I am going to use the V6 one, so let's go over to project right here and let's drag that onto our project, and next the timeline. Okay, now if you select the sound effect layer and type twice on the L, you'll be able to see the waveform right here. So now let's play our animation. It was a lucky strike, but it already matches our movement, so nice. Okay, so now with our sound effect still selected, let's hit Command D for Mac users or Control D for Windows users. Let's right click the duplicated layer, go to Time and Time Reverse Layer. Okay, so now with the duplicated layer selected, let's hit double click on the L to see the waveform, and let's drag our sound effect to the end of the animation. So okay, so let's make it match the movement. It needs to go from here. Okay, I think it's looking nice right now. Okay, now once you've done that, let's make this whole project adjustable on Premiere by creating a Mogrt file. Now, in order to make this all adjustable on Premiere in an easy way, we are going to create a motion graphics template, aka Mogrt. To do that, let's go over to Window and let's click the Essential Graphics. An Essential Graphics panel should appear anywhere around here. And let's select here on primary, let's select main comp. Okay, let's name it lower third. Okay, so once you've done that, come to the bottom of the Essential Graphics panel, click here and add group. Let's rename this group to General. Let's add another group and call it text line 1, another for text line 2, another for logo box. Okay, so now let's go over to our controller and click on the color right here underneath color control and drag it to the general. You can see that general text lights blue. Leave it there and let's call it master color. Now let's go over to our text 1 pre-composed layer. Let's reach out to the text layer, text, and where it says source text, drag that onto the text line 1 group over in the Essential Graphics panel. And over here, if you can see the edit properties, you can drag it like this. It's because the panel is small, and click edit properties. Let's enable the first and the last one. Okay, so now you can customize your text over here. Like let's type, for instance, Tiago's tutorial. Okay, see, it adjusted the text. So let's keep it text 1. Okay, so now let's do the same with the pre-composed layer, your text 2. Let's reach out to your text layer, text, source text, and drag it onto the text line 2. So let's go to the logo box and drag the place your logo here pre-composed layer onto our logo box. What this does is basically later on Premiere you can just drag your logo onto this black rectangle and it will replace this text saying place your logo here with your actual logo. Okay, now we've got it fully customizable, but let's say we want to adjust the size. So if we go over to the logo box and instead of going to effects, let's go to transform right here on the bottom, and let's increase the scale. You can see that it goes over the other two layers. We don't want that. So to correct it, let's go over to this tool right here and click the anchor point and drag it to the bottom right corner like this. This way, if we increase the scale, it will go to the other side. Now, to make it adjustable, let's add a slider control effect to our logo box, and then let's go to effects, slider control. Now let's go back to the transform, and you can see that on the front of every property right here you got this spiral thing. It's called a pink width. Let's grab the one that's on the front of scale and let's drag it over to the slider, and then let's grab the slider to our logo box property on the essential graphics properties. Let's rename it size. Okay, now if you drag, you can see that it increases or decreases the scale. So let's make it go from 50 to 200, and let's set the default amount to 100. Okay, now let's do the same for both the other two layers to make them size adjustable. Now, if you increase the text line 2's size, you can see that it goes under the text layer 1, which is not what we wish. So ideally, we would want this one, when increased, to push our text layer 1 upwards while keeping the same distance. To do that, we will need first to go over to our text 1 pre-composed layer and crop the height of the pre-composed layers. So let's go over to composition settings, and let's make the height 125 and see how it looks. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to match the composition's height with the rectangle shape's height. So let's see if 115. Okay, I think it's already pretty close. So nice. Let's do the same with the pre-composed layer, your text 2. Composition settings. Maybe they are the same. Okay, nice. Now, let's reposition them because they obviously changed their positions. And let's once again adjust the anchor points to the bottom. Okay, so once you've done that, the last thing you need to do is to add an expression to the text 1's position saying After Effects, when I increase the second text line, I want you to keep the same distance in between the text line 1 and the text line 2. So to do that, go over to the description of this video and copy the fourth expression on the description. Let's go over to our pre-composed layer text 1 and transform, remember, not effects, transform, the last one. And let's Option or Alt in case of Windows users, click next to position and let's paste the expression. Okay, so once you've done that, if any of your layers gone up or down, adjust the var distance in the expression. If you type any number, like for example, let's say 50, you can see that your text layer 1 goes up or it could be down, so adjust the var distance value to your need or to your liking. Okay, so now let's test it. Let's go over to the text line 2 property And as you can see, now instead of going under the text one, it pushes the text one upwards so that you can adjust it to your liking. Now, if you just want both these layers to appear and to hide the logo box, you can also come to the effects, search for checkbox control and drag it onto your logo box pre-composed layer, and let's open it. Let's go over to effects and let's search for the checkbox control over here, and it says off. Then open the bottom transform right here of the same pre-composed layer, and let's drag the pink whip of opacity to our checkbox. Now you can see that it is gone. Let's click here to drop down the opacity. Let's click on the expression. Let's type space times 100. Okay, so what this does, basically, if you come here to the checkbox where it says off and click, it turns on and automatically your logo box turns on. So let's drag this checkbox to your logo box property on the Essential Graphics panel. Let's rename it to visibility. Okay, so once you click this, it turns on and off. So let's preview. Okay, we got sound effect, we got movement, we got animation in and out, and we got a panel that we can adjust. Now, how do we export it? Let's click here where it says export motion graphics template. It will ask us to save the project if you haven't already. Save. And now it asks us where we want to save our actual Mogrt file. So let's save it as well on the desktop. Let's see. Okay, not a problem. You can have any other font that you like, but for now let's just click OK. It's not a problem actually. Okay, now let's say you are editing on Premiere and you got your project and your video on the timeline. To import this motion graphics footage, you need to go to the Essential Graphics panel on the Premiere. If you can't see it, it should be on Window, Essential Graphics, and once you click it, it goes around here somewhere. And when on Essential Graphics panel, let's click this icon right here with the plus sign, and let's search for our lower third Mogrt file. You can see that it says .mogrt. Double click it and it comes here. So now let's drag it onto our timeline and let's preview. You can see that it's already here. Now if you click it, you can see that all the properties that you dragged to the Essential Graphics panel on After Effects are now available here, and you can adjust them right here. As you can see, you can change the size, you can change the text, subscribe, like this. Okay, you can also change the font if you like this. You can do it in both layers. You can see if you increase the line text 2, it pushes the other one upwards. And to actually place a logo right here instead of this text, place your logo here. You just need to drag your actual logo to this dark rectangle right here. So let's go to the folder where your logo is and let's drag it over here. And then let's adjust the size. Let's make it 100. Okay, now this is actually the first video that I'm publishing here on this channel, so if you are still watching, thank you so much for being here. It really means a lot. If you enjoyed, don't forget to subscribe, comment, leave a like. Thank you for your presence once again, and see you in the next one.